Yes, hello everybody. Welcome back to Brock Talk. Today it's drunk talk, baby. Haha, cuz I'm drunk. All right, I'm actually not like drunk. I was like, "Hey, what if I did an episode where I had a little bit of a buzz going, but like buzz talk isn't as good as drunk talk." So here we are on drunk talk, a special Brock Talk episode with a little bit of beverages. Please enjoy your beverages responsibly. I'm going to do that right now. I'm drinking a Sierra Nevada hazy little thing IPA. I I don't like IPAs. I don't like beer. I really don't. So you're asking the $1 million question. Why are you drinking it? Well, it's a long story. Let me take you back to 2019. When did I turn 21? Whatever year it was, I turned 21. When I turned sorry. Sorry. When I turned 21. When was it? I can't remember. Maybe it might have been 20. Whatever, dude. We're not here to do that. So when I turned 21, either my dad or a friend of mine bought me a case of Blue Moon. And when I had high hopes, I thought it was going to be pretty good. I was kind of excited to try beer. I think I chose Blue Moon because I don't know, it seemed kind of cool. I guess there's that Dean Martin song. I think it's Dean Martin in Fallout New Vegas. He's like, "Blue Moon, you saw me standing alone." And it's like, bam, bam. Anyway, I tried Blue Moon, and I was like, "This is pretty bad." Like it was really bad. Have you ever noticed well, for me, I'll say for me, like if I'm drinking something I don't like, or eating, like if I'm eating a sandwich, I'm like, "This is a bad sandwich," and I'll be like, "Wow, there's a lot left." Or if I'm drinking something, I'll be like, "Man, there's a ton left in this can or bottle or cup, whatever it is." But if I'm something I like, even if it's the same amount, I'll be like, this isn't gonna be enough, you know. So we're drinking this Blue Moon, and I'm like, this is pretty bad. I don't ever want to finish. I don't like this. People are trying all these. People are, hey, try this beer, try this beer. I'm like, this is all pretty bad. Like, why do people do this? This doesn't make any sense. Well, I was at one point in my life introduced to a little drink called Smirnoff Ice, or not or. I don't know why I'm saying or, but Smirnoff Ice, and also Mike's Hard Lemonade. And I was like, this is awesome. This is pretty good. Like, I can have a drink. It doesn't taste awful. And I can just kind of enjoy myself. My friend was like, yeah, it's kind of like drinking soda because it's so sugary. And I was like, hey, come on now. You don't know what you're talking about. And so I just kind of enjoyed, not kind of, I enjoyed Mike's Hard and Smirnoff, and those are my drinks. And I didn't even enjoy I don't know, like I say fancy. It's probably not that fancy, but just mixed drinks like vodka and whatever, and all these different drinks. I was just not. I was not having it. I was not liking it. So I just stuck with Smirnoff and Mike's Hard Lemonade for a while, and then over the past, I'd say like a year and a half, like the sugar in those drinks, like even like and like especially like Mike's Harder, I can't do it. Like, and not that I'm some like health, fanatic or something, or that like I know what I'm talking about. I don't know why I said that. Like, I'm not like a big health guy, or whatever, but it is like drinking those drinks. Like, I get like a different kind of sick. Like, it's just too much sugar. It's just not a great experience anymore. Like, I feel like I don't know what it is, but I'm just like, ugh, like it kind of just makes me sick thinking about it. And also, like, I enjoyed that you could get a little, you could get a little buzz, but it wasn't too intense. But now it's just like all sugar and just I don't know, something. Like I could try one again, I feel like, but I just am not in any real rush to get back to that. And so I kind of have gotten back into drinking beer, or not gotten back into because I wasn't into it in the first place. But a part of me was just like, I just pick these different beers and I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll like it. I still don't really like this hazy IPA, but I got it. All right, so please drink responsibly, and I'm gonna have another sip. I'm sitting here. I was like, what do I want to talk about on this episode of Brock Talk? I was like, hey, I'm going to talk about why do I have a podcast? Why did I start a podcast? So I started doing the podcast just because, so the first episode I did was me talking about the video games I'd played in the first half of, I believe, 2023. So it's been a while. It's been, 3 years. It's been a while. Of course, everyone, you gotta say it. But those are the kind of videos that I like to watch. I like those videos of like here's the games I played in the first 3 months. Here's the games I played in the second half of the year. Like, just fun, videos like that. And I appreciate, like, people are doing incredible stuff on YouTube. People are making TV level things, movie level things, and putting them on YouTube. And I think that's, like, incredible. But I've always preferred, like, simpler videos, nothing too over the top, like, just people just chatting, talking, rambling, whatever, just yapping. And if there's one thing I can do, it's yap. So I made that video and I thought, like, oh, I'll do an hour. And I realized, like, talking for an hour, especially alone, is really difficult. Like, it can be really tough. So that's why I kind of like doing these shorter episodes. Sometimes, like, there's a podcast I like called Creating Characters. It's like 30 minutes. And a lot of times I'm like, man, like, I wish they could have gone longer. But it's nice that it isn't, it's nice that I'm not, like, spending forever listening to it. And then there's also a funny thing on the flip side. There's a podcast. It's over now, but I've been listening to the 10-minute podcast. But it's a trick, because I'll think, oh, I'm only spending 10 minutes listening to each episode. Like, this is easy. But if I listen to 3 episodes, that's 30 minutes, which is the length of one. So it's the same amount of time, right? And I've been listening via these compilations on YouTube, and they'll be like hour-long compilations. So yeah, I listened to 6 episodes, but it was still an hour, right? It's like a trick of the mind. We're kind of getting off topic here, but it reminds me of, like, when people say, oh, I don't have time to watch movies. I just don't have time to, like, my brother will say this. He'll be like, oh, movies sitting in the theater, like, I can't do that. They're too long. And I do want to say there are some movies where I'm like, you didn't need to be this long. He'll be like, yeah, I can't watch these movies. And the next time I talk to him, he'll be like, oh, dude, I just watched the entirety of The Office, or I just watched all of Survivor, all this stuff. It's like, oh, so you had the time to watch this whole show, but not this movie. But again, I think it's like a trick. I don't know anything about psychology or the mind or whatever it is, but again, I think it's like a trick for the brain of, like, oh, I finished an episode, let's do another one. Like, this is fun. Whereas, like, watching a movie, after 30 minutes, there's still, at least an hour more to go, if not more. But we're getting off topic. We're talking about why did I start a podcast? I don't even remember where I left off. I was saying about how I started to talk for an hour. Yeah, I was just like, I feel like there's a lot. What I've decided recently is I feel like I have a lot I want to say. And I've also felt like, well, that's just what people do now. In the previous episode, we talked about if there's an oversaturation of podcasts, and, if there's an oversaturation of podcasts, and what is that like for the internet and for the world and for everybody's listening. I mean, I think it's great, because the more we get, the more, like, someone's niche interest or whatever it is can finally be, available for them, and they can connect with people about this thing that's been kind of maybe obscure or just not as talked about enough. But yeah, I just started a podcast because I was like, that's what YouTube channels do. Like, everybody I know eventually starts one, and it's a fairly easy barrier for entry. So yeah, like, why not hop in? So I keep, if you've been following along, and thank you to everybody who has been, there's always these breaks, and there's always these long amount of times. I mean, heck, the time in between the first episode and the second episode was like years, literal years, And what happens again is, like, it's easy to watch shows and movies, and I'll say this is my perspective. It's easy to watch these shows and these movies and these listen to music and all of this, and just think, oh man, they just show up and listen to podcasts. They just show up, they hit record, and then they just do it. It's like breathing. It's like, brushing your teeth, all this stuff. Like, it's that easy. Which, brushing my teeth has been pretty hard for me to be consistent, but that's neither here nor there. But no, not that I've, made a show or a movie or made music or anything worth consuming. But it is, like, now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, oh, there is a lot of time and effort that goes into this. Like, I'm sure for somebody, it's easy, but there is a lot of time and effort and a lot more that goes into it that, like, I didn't realize. And also finding the motivation. I suffer with, like, anxiety and depression and all this stuff, so it's like, well, who gives a shit what I have to say? I have a million topics coming in all at once, so I'm going to try to stay focused. But we'll narrow down on this, that I've recently been like, I have a lot to say, and I like sharing things with people. But I realize I'm a yapper. I can talk a lot. I feel like I keep going and going and going if I don't pay attention. So one thing with this podcast is I can get on here. I can say whatever I want. I can talk about whatever I want. I can go for as long as I want. And if people are interested, they're making the choice to listen, and they can, if it goes on for too long, they can just let it go. They can pause it and come back later. And there doesn't have to be this awkward conversation, like breaking the conversation, because right now, I mean, there's just so much distracting us from each other. And it's kind of cheesy, like everybody says it, but it's like we've got our phones, we've got our shows, we got sports, we got things going on in the news. Like our lives can be pretty busy, so it's hard to find like a genuine time to just sit down and chat. Or do you have the length of time that this conversation would need? So in a way, I've just made it so that hey, if you want to listen, here you go. If you don't, I mean, I guess I got to get it out somewhere, and maybe it'll connect with somebody. And also too, I hate interruptions, and I hate being interrupted. There's plenty of times where people have been like, hey, I need a minute, and that's fine. I mean, I typically, I'd prefer somebody to be ready to listen than they're trying to bounce me talking and these other things happening. And I get it. Someone could mean well, and they're not trying to be rude, but if I'm talking and then they're trying to focus on this thing, and then this thing is happening, and they don't really listen to what I'm saying, I try to just be understanding of they're really busy, they really needed to take care of this thing, and that's okay. It's more annoying when it's something just stupid and they're just purposefully not listening or paying attention. That's frustrating. And I've just going back to being interrupted, I've been interrupted a lot, and I've done many times where I'll just stop talk. I'll be talking, somebody interrupts, and then I'll stop and I'll look around to see as if anybody's paying attention, and if no one's paying attention, then I just don't continue what I'm saying, and I'm like, well, nobody really cared in the first place, so what bother was there to even say what I was saying? So again, going back to this, I'm in this situation, I can say whatever, not whatever, but I can say what I want and talk about what I want, and I don't have to worry about somebody coming in and making some stupid joke to derail the whole thing, only to find out that nobody is really listening or interested. Here, it's I can just put it out, and people will do with it what they want. So that's good, I guess. Yeah, I guess, right? I've said this before too. I mentioned this earlier, but the rapper Logic has a which I'm glad I brought this up, because I was gonna forget what I was gonna say earlier. Logic has a line. He says, "I'm out here." He says something. It's on the song "Lord Willing" off of The Incredible True Story, one of my favorite albums of all time. But he says I'm out here busting my ass. They probably think it's automatic, right? And Mark Hoppus of Blink-182 fame. He says, what does he say? He says in the documentary about when they make the self-titled / untitled album, he says yeah, similar to what I said earlier, is a lot of people probably think recording sessions are we just hang out, have fun, and make some music, but no, there's a lot of stress and a lot of focus that needs to go into it. So the point of me bringing that up is I think I'm oh, I can do this. I can do this weekly or bi-weekly, right? But if I slack off, those weeks are not waiting for me. They're coming. Okay, I said it. God damn it! I was trying not to say it, but yeah, the time does not wait. Literally, as it's one of those things you hear all the time, or I would hear all the time. I'm oh, I get it, or it's not that big of a deal. But no, it is. So we get to that kind of I'm trying to wrap this back up of saying on paper, talking into a microphone for 15 to 20 minutes or however long it goes is easy compared to a lot of things in the world, and I'd probably do that rather than a lot of other things in the world. But really pushing yourself to do it, it's kind of I think of the job I have now. The job I have now sucks, but I can clock in, give 30% effort, clock out, and still get paid, and everything goes fine. But here it's like, I believe 30% effort is not going to be good enough. I need more. All right. Sorry. So I took a small break there, but for you, I guess you wouldn't notice because I paused the recording. Hopefully it's still recording. It says it is. A thing I was going to bring up earlier that I forgot, talking about Logic. So we recently had the death of the musical artist Oliver Tree. Now I listened to a little bit of Oliver Tree, but I didn't really, it never really caught on. I know what made me think of this was he made a song with Logic, and he also made a song with Mark Hoppus. That's kind of a crazy like all these people have come back at the end here as we're trying to wrap up here. But that's just a humor we're having here on Drunk Talk 10,000 on your FM dial. But I almost said it again. So he passed away in a fatal helicopter crash, which is like wild stuff. And man, I have so much to talk about. Where do I want to start? Well, let's start with like, my friend was telling me. He was telling me that months prior to Oliver Tree's death, Oliver Tree was trying to make he'd become very famous, very successful, and he wanted to make an album that was true to him. He wanted to make something that represented him, like from the heart. This is the this was the album he wanted to make. So, but his studio, I don't know what the studio. I can't remember who the studio is, but the studio is like. The studio is like, hey, we want you to make these songs that'll get famous on TikTok. We want you to make TikTok songs, become TikTok famous. And so Oliver Tree makes this album, and they go, what the heck, dude? Like, these aren't, the studio's like, hey, man, these aren't TikTok songs. They're saying, hold on, dude, these aren't TikTok songs, brother. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't want to make that. He's like, I want to make what I want to make. And they were like, well, we don't want you to do that. We want TikTok songs. So he was telling me about how, like, for a while, Oliver Tree had these, he had this argument with his, he had this argument with his studio back and forth, and they the studio vaulted the album. They're like, we own the music, we're not going to release this album. And then this is kind of an abridged version. I encourage everybody to look up the details more, but he said that somehow they reached an agreement that they would release the album, and Oliver Tree was going to get his true to himself album. They released it. They agreed to release the album, and then Oliver Tree dies in this helicopter crash, and the helicopter he was in had 5 people, 3 or 5 people, and the helicopter it was like a collision, 2 helicopters collided, and the other helicopter had 1 guy in it, and that's a little suspicious, right? All of a sudden this guy gets the album he wants, and then he's killed in a helicopter crash where there's 1 other guy flying in a helicopter. And that's kind of an abridged version of it. There's more to it. I encourage everybody to look up more details. Who is the rapper that he could still see your shadows in my room? What is his name? Legends never die. I'll think of it. Everyone's screaming his name. Everyone's like, oh, it's this guy. I can't believe you didn't think of this guy. I'll think of it in a minute. I remember, apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently his death had some suspicious circumstances around it. So, I don't know, man. It's tough. I mean, rest in peace. A young guy doing really well with his music. I think it's ironic, too, because again, I hear a lot of his music now on TikToks, so it's like, oh, he's dead, and now he's, TikTok famous, and a lot of, studio finally got what they wanted. They got his music on TikTok. But, I don't know, some suspicious stuff. Evil companies rule the world, and they do evil stuff all the time. The people who are in charge aren't real human beings. They're just detached from reality, and they are just the most awful people. Why am I bringing up all this up? I thought it was worth acknowledging. But my friend Nick was telling me about this. Now, my friend Nick is in a band. The band is called Making State. Please check out Making State. Support Making State. They're on YouTube. They're on Spotify. They're on YouTube Music. Anything. Check them out. We were talking about it, and he was like, Oliver Tree has passed, and he has this catalog of music. He's got a lot of, he has this legacy. We can look back at all of his music, and we can see these videos of him. We can hear his music. We can hear his voice. And so he was telling me like that in a way. How do I say this without making it sound wrong? He like after the death of Oliver Tree, my friend Nick was like, I want to make music so that I also have a legacy and things to look back on. When I'm older, I can say I did all of this. I put all this work into this. That's a paraphrase. That's roughly what he said. Juice WRLD. It was Juice WRLD. The rapper was Juice WRLD. I can't believe I forgot that. But going back to Nick, he was saying like, I want to push myself to put out more music, and maybe again, I'm paraphrasing, but he wanted to still make good music, but not put so much effort or put so much thought that he just didn't put anything out. And so again, I'm saying all this because I was thinking about my channel and what I want to do, and I'm like, maybe if it doesn't work out, I still should put out videos. I should still make these videos. And going back to how we started, of like, maybe they don't have to have the most crazy special effects and editing and music and lighting and all this stuff and all the big bang dollars. They could just have these videos. And when I'm older, if I live to be older, to much older, way world's going, I don't know, dude. But when I'm older, I can look back and be like, well, here's when I was young, and it can kind of be like my own personal archive, or an archive for my friends or whoever the fuck. Yeah, I said it. Oh, I'll say it again. But I'm sorry, I'm trying to have like a really serious conversation, but also just yapping and saying whatever. What did we say? I'm a yapper. But that was an interesting thought of like, hey man, like, I'm not going to lose points on my grade. The world isn't going to blow up because I made a bad YouTube video. And people do care, but also they don't at the same time. So like, make some stuff. People seem to like it. I shouldn't put so much pressure on myself because apparently I'm doing well, but to me, I'm not doing as well as I could be. So sometimes I just don't do anything at all. I'm trying to wrap this up, but I just keep talking. So that's part of it. I just want to be like, make these videos, do what you want. If it doesn't work out, I'm not really going to be penalized, or that, it's not really going to ruin my life. Hopefully, it's not going to ruin my life that much. And so, rest in peace, Oliver Tree. And, maybe I should just try to put more things out and let the people know. What are we at? We're at now, according to my timer, we're like 26 minutes. It might be roughly the same or shorter for you guys. I guess we should wrap this thing up. Yeah, everybody. Well, this was Drunk Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope something of what I said made any sense. I've just been sitting here yapping into this microphone for 30 minutes. Having a few brewskis. Having a few brewskis, Bob. I like to sip a cold one. Bottoms up, am I right? Please drink responsibly. Tell someone you love them. Brush your teeth. Pray that I kick myself into gear and I start getting more of this stuff out. So that's gonna do it for this episode of Brock Talk. I guess I tied it up as like, RIP to a real one. I'm gonna try to do more. And yeah, I guess so. Okay, everybody. So with that, this is BigHatBrock signing off. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm gonna pull what's that movie? What's the movie with Jim Carrey where he's in a simulation? Not Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. What's the other one? The Truman Show. The Truman Show. Yes. Truman Show. Have a wonderful day, wonderful afternoon, wonderful night, whatever the heck. Yeah, I will talk to you guys later. See ya.